Well, one thing I have a conversation coming up in a while. Every now and then, people ask me about platform operations or the sysadmins that
Right.
run things, and I had a talk. Is this 2 years ago now that the Cloud Foundry Summit was in The Hague, or is that a year? I don't really know.
That was last year, I think.
Last year, that
Yeah.
makes sense. And I remember I gave a talk on platform operations, so I've got like the 101 talk track down, kind of like what people
Right.
do and platform as a product. But I've been wanting to dig down deeper and like one of the questions that the people putting together the meeting was asking me that I think is representative of that is like, so who's in charge of networking, right? Like, so if you've got your networking thing, like, is that some other team that does that, or you do that? And like, there's a lot of things running around there. And so I've been starting to investigate like what are the actual like groups and organizations and roles and responsibilities that people have for I'll just broadly
Right.
say platform, whether it's a Kubernetes or a whatever we call it nowadays, an application service or a cloud foundry thing or whatever. I don't know. Do you have you encountered any like here's how people are set up to run that out in the wild?
Yeah, I could probably talk to that a little bit. And so I think the dirty little secret about platforms is they need to run on something, right? And that's the thing we don't talk about, right? So we start at the platform team and they're running Cloud Foundry or they're
That's
running
right.
Kubernetes. But the real thing is there is some infrastructure below you. So you kind of need to start with an infrastructure team,
Hmm.
and that infrastructure team can be internal, running your own data centers, putting VMware on it, putting Cisco switches in, all that stuff. Or you could be outsourcing that infrastructure team to say Amazon,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But usually, even if you're in Amazon, you still kind of need a bit of an infrastructure team to actually like set up and use Amazon correctly, like figure out the correct way to have accounts and sub accounts, figure out the optimum way to, rent machines by the hour or do reserved units. And so even with something like Amazon, you almost need an infrastructure team as well. Are you going to do like classic networking? You do VPCs. You're going to use security groups. Who's going to manage your IAMs? So that sort of stuff still needs to be done, and it's I feel like still kind of an infrastructure team kind of vibe,
Hmm.
and that way the platform team can show up and either has a bunch of like machines ready to use, or they have APIs that will give them machines that are ready to use.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then often the infrastructure team will do things like manage the what do we used to call them, the SOEs, standard operating environments.
Oh yeah.
We used to burn a CD with the operating system on it, and you were only allowed
Golden
to use that,
image server
right?
CD DVD.
Right. Except now they're using like Packer to build a AMI or whatever, but it's still often the same thing. And that's especially true. Like the larger the enterprise, the more of an infrastructure team you kind of have because you have more concern generally about things like compliance and security, and often you have um, existing teams that have very strong opinions that they want to try and wrap around whatever the new infrastructure is. And that's definitely a larger challenge in of itself because how you do networking on top of Amazon can look very different to how you do networking without Amazon. So you kind of have that. And then what you want to do is for the platform team, you want to basically have effectively flat networks, right? The network team should never have to really care about building outsiders and doing this and doing that. Like they might exist, but they should be like these are already things and you can use them. Maybe they've said to, they're running Cloud Foundry and they know they need like a management network, they need a data plane network, and then they need a just a network for all the random pods or whatever we're supposed to call them in Cloud Foundry. Cogs? No. Engines? I don't know. Whatever. Um, so, you still need to size some networks appropriately usually, but it's not really, you're not getting in there and configuring switches or anything.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. And so ideally, your infrastructure team is kind of just a lower level platform team and is providing that platform team with uh, either APIs or easy to use building tools. So either Amazon APIs, obviously. If they're running their own infrastructure, then maybe they have like pre-prepared like Ansible or Chef. Are we supposed to call them progress recipes now?
I don't know. I've never heard that before. I don't know what a pro. Oh yes, yeah, I got it. I got it. I'm a little slow. That's right.
It's all good,
Yeah, the progressive configuration.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's I was talking to one of our colleagues, Bosky, and she did some courses on like Kubernetes for VI admins, which is a term
Mhm.
that only in the past year I have learned. Now that we're part of VMware, which is
Right.
nice.
Now, is that someone that does all of their work using Vim?
Exactly. That's pretty much it. There. Yeah. No.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I always wonder if VI admins call themselves VI admins, but that's fine because I get the impression that it's basically just admin, maybe even a virtualization admin. But I was
Right.
asking her because she used to be a VI admin type in that world, and I was just asking what VI admins do, and I mean, it's a lot of what you were just describing, just like setting
Right.
up stuff. And as we were talking, I was thinking like, and now you're making me think as well, which is always good to be thinking. It helps me know that I'm alive. But like, it'd be interesting to see. Oh, I have to enter the password for my son on my iPad so his friend can play Ark.
One, two, three, four,
Don't
five.
tell anyone. This is being recorded. I need my funds and my bank account.
Speaking of
Uh
passwords,
huh.
why have we suddenly decided that pins are the secure way to like block computers and things now? Because my new machine is uh, a Windows laptop, which I'm struggling with, but I'm handling it for now, at least. I do have the urge to put Linux on it, but to log into your new Windows 10 machine, you use a pin. And so we've decided that like a 6-digit pin is now more secure than like a 15-digit password with special keys and characters that you rotate every month.
Now hold on. We're gonna have to get back to this thing I was talking about with VI admins.
Oh
But
yeah, we
but no
should.
no no no
Sorry.
no. But you've got me confused. So you get the new Windows thing, and it wants you to set a password, but it forces it to just to be a numeric password.
Exactly. And it actually calls it a pin.
Huh.
And so your options to log in that I see are either you stare at the camera until it realizes you're there and it sees that your face looks something like the face it remembers and it just starts. Or if you run with your laptop closed like I do, you have to use your PIN because your face recognition only seems to work with the built-in camera. And so, I
Oh,
mean, as you do, I'm very security conscious, and so I use a very secure PIN, which is my
of
birthday.
course. It's easy to remember. A
Exactly.
pin is no good if you can't remember
Well, I mean, I couldn't use my cat's name, could
it.
I?
That's right. Yeah, well, on the iPhone, you need a numeric pin. You got a numeric
Right.
pin. You got an Apple ID password, and then you got your face and your finger. So you got four factors, and I suppose maybe a SIM is another type of factor, but no one cares about that. And it is
Right.
maybe that's the influence is that the Windows has moved to this mobile mentality, and so
Oh
like in the same way
yeah.
that you have to have a numeric pin in on your iPhone now because it's sort of like mobile has it's like the leaky abstraction becomes the thing leaked into. What's the opposite of a leak? But anyhow, it has primacy, but that is odd.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. They use you can do contact payment over here a lot, and they call it
Hmm.
pin cards. They'll ask if you want to pay by pin, which is a weird slang
Right.
for it. Whereas it should pay with your face. And then nowadays my grocery thing, they have this new thing where you open their app and they show you a QR code, and then you open your app, their app on your phone, and you take a picture of the QR
Right.
code, and then it forwards you to your bank's authentication thing where you transfer this money, and it's crazy, and somehow they think that's a good idea.
Yeah, so I think where that's coming from is like in China, where you have tools like WePay and Alipay, like you load up your WeChat with money or it's linked to your bank account. And when you scan that QR code, the payment just
Yeah,
happens.
yeah. This one you still have to enter a password, but
Right.
still.
And so we haven't figured out those integrations, but we still think it's a good idea anyway. So we end up with this kind of more convoluted way of doing things.
I think that's accurate. Yeah. So
Yeah.
back to the VI admin. I was
Yeah.
asking her like, what do VI admins do, right? And it was basically what you just listed. What I would call in my old 2000s way, they do a lot of capacity management and planning, right? Make sure you got the
Hmm.
stuff, and then there's a lot of just like configuration, right? Like, so you just configure the network and the storage and all that. And then there was also like, and I think this is what I'm getting to is if we had, I don't know what the Kubernetes people call themselves, but Kubernetes administrators, we'll have to figure that out. But I'm trying to figure out the
Right.
Venn diagram of overlap. And I think the next thing that the VI admins do is basically the developers come to them and they're like, we have this application. You should make some VMs for us that fit our application. And I think the VI admins do that. And then
Right.
that's it. Whereas like as we were just talking in the beginning before the pin talk and sometime after whatever else we were talking about, like it's with this administrative this infrastructure role that you have in more of a cloud native world is actually a lot of that VI admin stuff, but just not the packaging things up for you, which is kind of like a
Right.
pure and then both of the roles have like when stuff breaks, go fix it, whatever words you want to use, right? Do your root
Yeah.
cause analysis and blowing in the USB outlet and rebooting it to make it work better.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What do you think of that Venn diagram overlap there?
Yeah, I think that's about right. And we definitely see at larger enterprises where they have like sysadmin team, network admin team, DevOps team, SRE team, because they've each ended up with this very unique part of the pipeline.
Yeah,
And so, your smaller unicorns are like, well, all you need is a DevOps and you're good to go,
yeah.
because they don't have these big, what do you call it before you turn it into a value chain? You do that value chain analysis
Oh,
and
I didn't know there was a name, but there probably is. I think it's always a value
yeah,
chain. Some value chains just
right.
suck.
Yeah, right. Sometimes they're invaluable,
That's right. It's
unvaluable. I don't know
the
what the word
value
is.
stream map. Boy, I don't remember my stuff now. But
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah. Value stream map.
the
That's the one.
VSM.
So you got your value stream. And so the enterprise has such a large value stream that these different types of teams can kind of slip into different sections of that value stream. And then hopefully we'll work to reduce the number of teams that are required to be in that value stream.
Yes. Yeah, that's the dream of, as we call them now, the progress recipes, right? Like way back then, the dream was
Right.
like we we're gonna automate all this stuff, which means it's much more efficient, which means essentially, let me word this very nuancedly. There is less stuff for people to do. What you choose to do with those
Right.
people as management in a company is up to you. But I'm beginning to suspect, as you were saying, just to add on to what you're saying, is like I'm not sure that staff is removed, right? And I think maybe, and I remember it was Luke Kanice who pointed this out because obviously he was doing some marketing because they were selling at Puppet, they were selling to operations people, and the operations people. It was kind of like when I was at way back when at my early 2000s job, and they brought some offshore people in that we were supposed to train, and you're sort of like, I think I see what's going on here, right? So like, as an operations person, you don't want to automate yourself out of a job. And I think he pointed out, he's the one who surfaced the old Jevons paradox, which I don't know. It's from the late 1800s, so I'm sure it's in like some Dickinsonian phrasing with thous or something. But it was basically like, anytime you make the energy needed to accomplish something more efficient, it doesn't mean that you save energy, because what you do is you end up doing more stuff, right? So like,
Right.
and so it, I think what that also means as far as like operation staffing is like you don't actually reduce the amount of staff you have. You just end up doing more stuff. I mean, I guess you could
Right.
reduce the point, but who doesn't want to grow? That's what I
Right.
tell people. And so
So what you're saying is you do more with less,
you do more with yes. Well, no. I
which
think
is one of the worst phrases I ever
no.
hear in large
I think no.
enterprises.
I think that's a good. I think what you do is you do more with the same. I think that's what the Jevons
Right.
paradox Jevons implication is on automation is like, yeah, you do more with the same, which is good.
Yeah, I guess ultimately, if whatever the work you're doing is providing value, then making it easier and more efficient to do that work just generates more value, right? The theory, at
Yes.
least.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, who doesn't want more value?
I want more value, Paul. How would I get what does that mean to you to get more value?
It's just one of those words we throw around in DevOps thought leadership and don't really explain what it actually means.
Get more value. I'm typing that in. I want more value. I want more value. That might be a
Yeah.
good
I
title.
mean, I guess ultimately it leads to increased revenue or the potential for increased revenue. So, like in a operations kind of role, you're pretty separated from like revenue,
Yes.
right? It's very difficult for you to directly modify revenue. But if you make it much easier for that developer to make those changes to the shopping cart so that less people abandon their shopping carts, then you have kind of through a third party affected that value,
Yeah.
affected the
You know,
revenue.
I was
So,
thinking of content to put on the old the tanzu.vmware.com/developer, you know, the developer portal. And
right.
now I was thinking I should write a piece that just has my definition of what digital transformation is. But now you're making me think in addition to that, as we learned in our team building exercise, to yes and myself, if that's possible. Uh, Maybe you and I should work on to keep it family friendly, DBSing a bunch of digital phrases, right? Like you just did one there, right? Like what does it mean, business value? And I bet we could come up with a delightful series, kind of like you know, as if it were a column in like Linux Journal or something, and you just pick some phrase, and it's basically like, what do these phrases mean for you, the the whatever
Hmm.
admin?
Yeah, that could be
Yeah,
fun.
and then it could be like so when all these people are talking about this stuff and you're just like I don't know what's going on, then you can you know you can have a basis for what it is. We'd have to come up with a list of these phrases though. So there's value,
Yeah.
business value, digital transformation clearly.
Actually, speaking of digital transformation, are you with there's a new Dune movie coming out. Are you going to upgrade your that digital transformation what's in the box
Oh,
slide, or have you retired that?
Paul, that's one of my more ingenious slides, my funnier ones.
Dude, that's one of my
How
favorite slides I've ever seen from you.
However, I'm always afraid of copyright stuff. And I don't know, maybe now that we work at a big fancy company, I could send an email to a corporate lawyer and be like, "Will you explain to me what is okay to use cuz cuz there's always this analyst stuff that I want to use. And regardless of what the law
Right,
is, analysts get really upset when you use their stuff without
right.
permission. So I just don't use any of that anymore, right? Just like I try to avoid it despite how good it is. But with movie stuff, I don't know. Like I feel like in our world, everyone uses like questionable copyright imagery, and
Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
know
And I
why that's
think
good.
with the advent of like memes and like GIFs and slash Giphy on Slack and stuff. Like so much of that content comes from movie
Exactly.
screenshots and stuff like that. That like I feel like it's fair game. You should probably have a thing saying like this is from like the Avengers or
Yeah.
whatever it's
Yeah.
from. But otherwise, I think you
Yeah, because
could.
I was thinking about that recently, and like if this strict view of stuff would basically mean that all of Tumblr is illegal, and pretty much most
Right.
all of Twitter as well, right? Like it's just there's these implications that I don't quite know. Like there's got to be something going on there. Oh, my audio level is low. Hold on, hold on. I'm
Oh,
gonna
your
raise it up,
audio
Paul.
level's low.
How about this? I'm a little louder now. I also keep backing away from my microphone, but
Right. Was it just you that was low, or was
no,
it
it's
both of
probably me. I
us?
had my slider down because I was trying to equalize. But
Ah,
I'll, when we do, this is actually I think the most people who have ever watched one of these live streams I've done, Paul. There's 5 people watching. You
wow,
really bring the
that
people.
is a record. I'm usually I get at least 7, but 5 is
Yeah,
okay.
I need to have you on more so I
Yeah.
can get more attention.
Right.
Uh, I forget what.
Now, do you watch the little audio mixer in OBS to make sure you're sort of sticking around the high green to low
Yeah,
level
yeah,
to low
yeah. And
yellow?
in fact,
Yeah.
that's why it was down is because last time I had someone on, my audio level was way above theirs, so I tried to like equalize them out, but I don't know.
Right.
I only barely know I don't really understand audio stuff very well. It's it.
Yeah, I don't understand it at all. So speaking of which, I got this new machine and it's powerful enough to run like stuff and OBS and stream at the same
Mm,
time. And on Windows, if you want to like muck sounds together, you have to get this like the go-to software is this Voice Meter Banana of all names, and it just looks like a regular like mixer screen. But I've found it's adding like half a second of latency to the
no
audio,
good.
and it's driving me
Yeah, yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
It's driving me crazy. And my last machine with the same setup didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to trade specs because I think I need a dedicated streaming video machine. And
Yeah.
because, I mean, what I have works kind of okay, but like I've had to downgrade it to stream at like 720 instead of the full glory that I could, which I don't know if it
Oh,
really matters,
yeah.
but it is nicer to have better quality.
Yeah, it is. And you want the source to be as higher quality as possible so that those people with lightning fast internets, can see you in
Yeah,
crisp
yeah, yeah. Because
1080p.
I got lots of internet here. Well, listen, I got to
Yeah.
wrap up soon because I got a call with someone. But there was something right on the edge that I wanted to talk about next, and then we started talking about Windows boxes.
Oh yeah,
No,
my
no, no,
bad.
no. It was. We had the administrators. We had we had do more with the same, and oh man, maybe I'll remember later today. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Oh, I know a good thing to close out on. You remember when you were here last time? You discovered, or I don't know if you discovered, but you pursued the 2 Belgian beers that had the same recipe. Now, I did a little bit of
Oh
research
yes.
because I think I should have brought a bottle, but I think the one that's got that cartoonish picture of the monk is the commercial one, right? And the other
Right.
one is
Yep.
actually made in a monastery and doesn't really have a label, right?
Right. So West Vetleren is the one made in the
Yes.
monastery, and then Saint Bernardus is the one that's made nearby. And they used to have a license to make the West
Right, that's what
Vetleren.
I read in Wikipedia. Is for some
Yeah.
reason in the early 1900s, the monastery stopped making it, or they licensed the recipe, and
Right.
so they're more
Right.
or less the same. And uh, what was crazy is like I don't know how it is at back in Austin, but like they just sell that at the grocery stores. The Saint Bernardus one. They don't have the fancy
Yeah,
label.
you can get it at the local HEB. You can't get the full range, but you can get like the Tripel and stuff. So it's
Yeah,
great.
but I should find the other one. Is that only like it seems like it's only available in the area. They don't really export it out. You found some, right?
It's Yeah, it's only available at the monastery and at the little cafe that's attached to the
Ugh.
monastery. Um, you can get it sort of on the grey market at a couple of um, beer stores in Brussels, and there's a couple of restaurants and bars that seem to have an agreement with
Yeah.
them to also sell it. But the general rule of thumb is you're not allowed to resell the West Vetlaren. And if you want to buy it in bulk, several months in advance, you need to pre-order it and provide them the make, model, and license plate of your car that you'll be picking it up
Really?
in.
Wow, those
Yeah.
monks are serious.
Right. Yeah. Very serious. But the little cafe attached to it, they usually have like a couple of cases, and you can normally get like the triple, the double,
Now,
pretty
did
easily
you
if you
go
go
there
there.
and get some?
Of
Yeah.
course. Yeah. Me and Tyler, or Tyler, supposed to say in the Queen's
Uh-huh.
English, went, did a drive, and we actually went to West Vetlaren and went to that cafe and picked some up. And then we drove to St. Bernardus because it's nearby, and we did a tour of the St. Bernardus
I
brewery.
see. I see. Yeah, maybe I'll have some more tonight. I bought a whole bunch. Now, how about the West Mall? West Molly? How do you say that? Is that one good?
West, I'm not sure which one that one is.
I need to go look. I can't remember how to say anything.
I mean, if it's from Belgium, it's probably great.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think with the way things are now, I need to make sure not to leave the country because who knows if I can get
Right.
back in or not. Like it's always
Yeah, well, I have that problem myself, probably much worse than you do, and it's about to get worse because next year my green card runs out,
yes. Huh.
and you're not allowed to reapply for the renewal until 6 months before that happens. And the current waiting list for processing is 13 months.
Yes.
So there's that weird 7 month period where, like, technically you get like a temporary extension, but it depends on the border security guard as to how much grief you get when you come back in.
Yeah, that's annoying.
So it's probably a good thing that we're probably going to be grounded all through next year.
Oof, man, I'm gonna go crazy. I gotta get out.
Yeah,
I miss going out and about. All right.
yeah.
Well, listen, we've retained 3 total viewers this to the end here. It's
All
amazing.
right.
It's like a bell curve of viewership. Usually I have one. Maybe that's because I broadcast earlier in the morning. I don't know. I got to figure out how to get Europeans to look at this stuff or insomniacs in North America.
Right.
I don't know. We'll have to swap tails. Well, thanks for being on, Paul.
Well, thanks for having me.
When's your usual broadcast here in TV land?
So I usually do Tanzu Tuesdays, but I'm kind of just a general like host, and I manage the OBS stream sometimes. So I'm not super talkative on that. But usually on a Thursday afternoon, I think at 2 o'clock Central Time, I actually do a stream with JJ, uh, friend of the show. I guess not friend of this show,
Of
friend of your show,
everyone.
friend of everyone. No
Uh-huh.
SSHJJ. Um, and so we usually do that. And then actually, I mean, I'm doing a podcast under one of your old podcast
That's
names.
right.
And we'll be recording that this afternoon if all goes well.
Oh, that's
If
good.
we all show up at the right time
Yeah,
at the
I'm
right
sure you
place.
will. You're all professionals.
Semi-professional.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you don't want to try too hard. You might sprain something.
Right. Now, Cote, we were going to talk about sort of some culture stuff and some thoughts we had, and we just never got around to it. So we should probably do the talk that we had intended on talking about.
That's a good idea. We'll have to reschedule this week or next or something.
Oh, not this week.
No,
Come on, don't
maybe next.
don't strangle me with videos on screen.
Yeah, yeah. Let me see. Well, we'll sort it out in email so I can go to this next call.
For sure.
Although I shouldn't say next call because this wasn't really a call. This was a broadcast. But to go to the
Right.
call, I have next. Boy, these icons that Twitch uses really wig me out because they're not normal icons. The emoji icons they have.
The emojis, yeah, I don't understand
Yeah.
them. But if you're a hardcore Twitch user, you know all of them and you use them professionally.
That
But
makes sense.
I just get confused. The only one I can do reliably is the smiley face one, which is like a robot smiley
Yeah,
face.
exactly. Why would it be a robot? I don't know. Nothing wrong with
Right.
humans. All right, I gotta go. Let's see
All right.
everyone next time.